There's been a lot of interest lately in my phone farm, and with Verus kind of popping off recently with the recent BPOS upgrade, I figured I'd go ahead and take a few moments and just kind of put out a video on my phone farm, why I have it, what I like about it, and kind of some comparisons. So for me, I'm very particular in what I run. And so these are 24 of the same exact phone. These are all Samsung Galaxy A03Ss, which is actually one of the cheapest prepaid phones that you can buy brand new. These are about $50 a phone. The whole idea behind phone farming is buying cheap devices, hashing away on them, and trying to turn a profit. For me, I went through testing of tons of devices, and ultimately the reason I settled on this specific device is it had a decent hash rate, but more importantly, these have LiPo batteries in them instead of lithium ion. And that means they're not going to be prone to the bulging that you get in a lot of batteries when they start to heat up. Most of these phones run fairly cool. They don't run that hot. They're actually super cool to the touch. They're about a little bit higher than room temp. No big deal on these. So there's really no concern for the bulging happening or really the phone overheating. I don't need to run fans on these. It was a nice, easy setup to do. As you can see, I did build a kind of a shelf out of connects that I had laying around in a bin. So I kind of built this homegrown shelf. And there's 4 rows, 6 columns. That's kind of how we get to our 24. And you can see that each of them is hashing away at between 2.5 and 3 mega hash a second on Verus. We are running the latest Verus miner. New England Crypto did a guide on how to update. I think that video actually dropped today. So if you haven't watched that video and you're interested in how to install the app, get it up and running, and get your phones hashing, definitely check out his video. But this works on pretty much any modern Android device, and you can mine Verus with it, you can mine Monero. There's a lot of different options. However, I'm a big Verus advocate, have been for quite a while, and this phone farm is kind of dedicated for just mining Verus. I kind of keep it in this little cubby hole in my place, and we just let it hash away. Everything goes to my wallet. We are mining through Luckpool, which I have been for several years now, and just everything's going directly to the wallet. And once there are merge mineable coins spun up, which should be happening fairly soon, that was a big reason for this latest upgrade, and which impacted mining, we should be seeing substantially higher profits, which is really cool. Now, one of the things I always get asked is it profitable? I don't necessarily mine for profits, but I understand a lot of people may. And from an efficiency standpoint, these are actually better than a Threadripper. It fluctuates a bit, but we get upwards of 60 to 70 mega hash on these. At the pool, our effective tends to hang around 65-ish mega hash. And if we take a look at that from a power perspective, you have a couple options. People with phone farms, sometimes they'll wire up a smart switch with a timer and basically shut down power for like an hour or so, let the batteries drain, and then turn it back on, and they'll charge themselves back up. For me, I don't do that. I actually do more of a trickle charge, so I keep them plugged in at all times. And what that does is it results in a steady power draw of around 60 to 70 watts. And I never have to worry about a rapid power spike from a recharge. So sometimes what will happen is if you drain these and then you plug them in, you're gonna jump to 200 or 300 watts while it's recharging. And then obviously it's gonna settle off. I like that steady power draw better, and so that's why I go with it. So essentially what we're looking at here is around 65 mega hash at, say, 65 to 70 watts. So how does that stack up to similar GPUs, or similar CPUs rather? The 5950X gets, I'm just going to talk about Hell Miner, or H Miner as it's known now, hash rates, because as of right now, SRB Miner isn't compatible with the latest upgrade. So if we talk about those hash rates, On my 5950Xs, I get around 37 mega hash at 105 watts. The Threadripper 3970s get around, I believe they get in like the 55 to 60 range, but then you're consuming Threadripper power. So at only pulling 70 watts, these are actually a really good deal, especially if you can get these used. You know, I'd like to see if you can pick these up on eBay in like the $20 range, it's a really good value. Brand new, these are $50. And so to build this out, you're looking at about $1,200 on phones. If you compare that to the Threadripper that gets around that same hash rate, that Threadripper, I believe, is around $2,500. So that kind of gives you an idea. And we can hop over to the computer. I can run through some similar hash rates, and we can kind of just take a look and see what some of the other systems are getting. But if we take a look at the miners here, you can see pretty much all of the phones are 100% charged. They will maintain that charge. And you will see a decent amount of rejected shares, but that's okay. We'll tend to run into that when you're mining on a phone. But we're still getting a substantial amount. And you can take a look at the uptime. We're looking at about 75 hours on all these phones, because that's when I did the upgrade. This specific one is up for 66 hours, just because I stopped it to do some things on that specific phone. But it's relatively stable. They never go down unless there's like a phone OS update, and then I'll get a pop-up to run the update. But overall, everything is super stable. I'm getting around 1.5 to 2 Verus a day right now with just this phone farm. And so that's around the dollar range if you're looking at current US dollar value. So we are stacking Verus with it. Overall, super happy with the phone farm. Now, in addition to using phones, you can also use tablets. I actually use Amazon Fire tablets as well. I don't have any of them over here. I kind of keep them in a separate area just because they're a little bit more bulky. They're not as tidy to set up. The only important thing here is making sure you're running an Android device with a ARM v8 processor. Some of the ARM v6s will work. I have tested it on older Galaxy Notes. Most devices do tend to work. Some of the really cheap TracFone phones, like the ones that are in the $30 to $40 range, those don't work, or they'll work, but you get an extremely low hash rate, like 300 kilohashes per second, or something along those lines. But if we just take a look at the temps, you can see that all the phones are at around 37 degrees Celsius, got 37, 38, within that range. So everything is staying relatively cool, and as I mentioned, super stable. And if you're interested in how to mine, I do have a video up on how to mine it from the command line and get paid out in Flux. You can use that video to mine from the command line using Termux if you want. If not, hop on over to New England Crypto's channel. He actually covers this latest setup and how you can basically download this app from the App Store, the Google Play Store, get it installed, set up your wallet, and get hashing to your wallet. We're back over at the computer, and I just kind of wanted to go through a couple hash rates from some CPUs, just kind of give you a general idea of the type of efficiency that we're able to achieve from the phone farm, at least with these specific Galaxy A03s I'm running. So if we take a look, i7s, i9s, typically I skip over these. These are actually older CPUs, so just keep that in mind. They don't really have benchmarks for some modern ones on here. The dual Xeon 2697 V2s, with 2 of them, you can achieve a total hash rate of around 27 mega hash. But the important thing I want to point out here is the Threadrippers. So on the 3970X, it's around 57 mega hash. And if I hop on over to Luckpool, let's see what we're currently pulling with the phone farm. So right now you can see we're at around 63 mega hash. And just to show you, that is just the phone farm. I have it all aggregated as basically all 24 phones with the same worker name. And so that's kind of what we're looking at. So if we hop back on over, you can see it's actually better than the 3970X. And it's right around what like the 2970WX was. Well, if we take a look at the 3970X as a example, just head on over to Newegg, let's see what a 3970X is. And you can see right off the bat, new, that CPU is $4,200. Refurbished is around $2,300. Which is still a refurb, is still double the price of what I paid for all the phones. In addition to that, if we pull it up, you can see the TDP on that processor is 280 watts. So we're able to achieve that full hash rate at 70 watts. So while yes, it may not be super profitable, we get our earnings for a 24-hour. You can see we earn 1.55, which is around 92 cents. And if we hop on over to what to mine, go to the coin section, and go to the Verus calculator. And we're going to plug in our hash rate, which was 63 mega hash rate. Yep. 63 mega hash at, I'm going to do 70 watts, which is kind of the peak that it pulls. Current market. Here you can see our revenue was $1.11. This is costing us 17 cents a day to run. And that's at 10 cents a kilowatt hour. My power is actually 5 cents a kilowatt hour. Let's recalculate this at my power. It's only costing me 8 cents a day to run that whole phone farm. So we profited $1.09 or $1.03 at the current market, and you can see we should be getting around 2 Verus. We actually got 1.55. It's still pretty close in what we're getting, and you're going to see here that you're going to see fluctuation in that hash rate. And so it jumps between 55, all the way up to 75. But if we kind of look at that stable line, that's right around 63 to 65 mega hash. So just as a reference point, right, $1,200 for the phones. We're able to achieve a really good efficiency on that. And especially compared to a lot of other CPUs. Now, I do mine Verus on some 5950Xs, things like that. I tend to try to mine it on all of my GPU rigs I have CPUs on. Just kind of help support the network. I really like the project. It's really the only CPU mineable coin that I'm somewhat invested in, and I've been mining it for quite some time. But just wanted to throw together a short video to go over my phone farm, why I picked the specific phone I did, and just kind of just talk about, the specs, comparing it to the modern CPU hash rates, and why that phone farm is actually significantly efficient compared to most consumer CPUs today. And as I mentioned, I use Amazon Fire tablets. Pretty much any Android device you can run. If you're curious if your device will work or not, I recommend heading over to GSM Arena. So if we just do like GSM Arena AO3S, we're able to see all the specs on the phone. And here you can see it's a LiPo battery. This is what I like instead of the lithium ion. In addition to that, if we scroll down to the platform, this will tell us the CPU that it's running. So we know that this specific phone is obviously Android 11, which we've upgraded to Android 12. And it has a octa-core, so it actually is 2 separate quad-core CPUs. So we are mining on all 8 threads. 4 of those threads are running at 2.35 gigahertz, and 4 of those threads are running at 1.8 gigahertz. And then you could basically take, like the Cortex A53. I know that this runs ARM v8, but if you didn't, you could really just pop this over and find the specs. And here you can see the architecture is ARM v8A. So we know this will work. you can always just test it. Either it'll hash or it won't hash. And just as a final reference point, if we head on over to Amazon and pull up the AO3S, this is the one I have. I have a couple of the Verizon ones and also a few of the track phone ones, which are here. You can buy it locked. It doesn't matter because you're not really providing cell phone coverage for it. So it doesn't matter. You can just put it on Wi-Fi. Never really worry about it.